Okay. So my name is Meira Spivak. I work full-time in the nonprofit world, primarily focusing on management, fundraising, recruitment, training, leadership. I run a business where I help for and not-for-profits to reach goals effectively. And so they could save a lot of time and money and produce results. I'm also a trained facilitator in the method of innovation called SIT, or systematic inventive thinking. And I know how to innovate on demand. And I train others to do so. We're definitely not going to be doing that during this webinar, but it's a fun thing that definitely weaves into a lot of the way that I present. So thank you for everyone who joined. What are we going to be accomplishing today? So we're going to dig in to the problem of having minimally producing staff, right? Staff that you're just not exactly sure. No one wants to fire, but they're not really being successful. I'm going to introduce you to the OKR system. It's a method of goal setting. And I'm going to show you how this method will help you with your frustrating employees. And you're going to gain important tools to be able to implement this method. And I'll share with you, obviously, how I can help you in this process. And it doesn't matter if you've used OKRs before or any other system in place, even if you don't have a system in place until now. With the right effort, your company really can be in a drastically different place next year. So I'm excited to get started. So here's the thing. Let's talk about the problem, okay? And many of us have employees that we just can't get through to, right? They might be underperforming. We've had conversations with them. Maybe we even got them a coach, but we don't think that they're going to make it. Like, we have this feeling like this is just not really working. They might be okay at a few things, possibly the wrong things even, but they're just frustrating to have around. And it's confusing. Like, they do random things that are helpful, but it's not always what you need. And I don't know if you relate to any of this, but I had an office person here once. That person kept our closets super organized and neat, which was great. But I really wanted someone who was in the office, and they were constantly asking if they could work remotely, constantly asking to take off, constantly asking. And I was just, it was just very frustrating because the benefits of having an organized closet did not outweigh that person not being accessible. And it was very, very frustrating. Like, we get confused, right? Because it's like, I like this part that they do this well, but then there's so many different aspects of things that we're not getting from them that we need. I had an employee who, as part of their job, was supposed to meet with a certain demographic of people every single week. And instead, they kept writing and sending them greeting cards. And they kept telling me how the feedback from those cards was just terrific. People loved getting them. Now, it's nice that they send greeting cards out, and I'm sure that the person felt very good when they were receiving a greeting card, but that's not what I needed from them right now. Like, it's just not what I asked for, right? Like, I wanted them to meet with people. I didn't want them to send out these greeting cards. It was probably not what I needed from them ever, honestly. Like, I just never needed them to do that. But again, it was very, very frustrating experience. And I had this person I wasn't really sure what to do with, right? You might have someone, this might be familiar to you, who works very slowly, and they might produce very thorough work, but you can't work at that pace. Like, again, when my closets were clean, it was really organized. It was really nice. But if that person is spending days printing beautiful labels as opposed to getting the real work done, that's just going to be at the expense of other things, and it's not helpful. And you know what happens next? What happens next is then I start mistrusting them. And I'm like, wait a minute, this person's hourly. Like, are they really working that many hours? Things are taking so long. They haven't done very much. And then there's this downward cycle of lack of trust because they're taking a long time. And it's just very, again, I keep using the word frustrating, but you're just at this, not sure how to deal with the situation, right? You might have someone who wants to come in late, leave early, and you keep looking the other way, maybe because you're desperate. Maybe you've even sat down with them and met with them about it, but then maybe they haven't improved, or maybe they did improve for a bit, but then when you're distracted and you're not on top of them every moment, suddenly they're coming in late and leaving early every single day. And it's just, again, this endless cycle. And it's not, first of all, it's not easy to fire someone. We don't want to fire someone. We want to give them more chances. It could be that we want to give them more chances for a variety of reasons. Maybe they're a family friend. Maybe they live in your community. You might live in a place where you can't find so much talent. Maybe you'd rather suffer with someone who's not good than have no one. And we end up settling And we think, well, maybe if we just gave them a few more months, things would change. But as those few more months roll around and we're like, this isn't working, right? We're just like, something has to change. Like, we know we can't continue like this, and we know we're wasting money, but for some reason, we just hold on to people longer than we should. So if you could just take a moment, put in the chat the reason why there is someone in your office that is still around, or maybe someone not in your office, longer than they should be. What is a reason for you that comes up of someone that's still around and they really shouldn't still be there? I'll stop sharing just for a minute, just so I could see that. Put in the chat. Anyone have any reasons why? Think about people in the office who are just there and they've overstayed their welcome. Okay, everybody knows. Okay, so let's just hope that the reason why I shared. So, okay, we're in this situation. It's not comfortable. We have, we're feeling this like uncomfortable. Again, it's just pain. Like, we're just going through this, and there's two angles here. Okay, I had to deal with this. There's what to do now with this one employee, and what to do with all your employees going forward. So I'm going to address the latter. Okay. I'm not going to get to specific situations with your employees, obviously, right now. I'm going to give you a system that's going to help you. And then I'm going to leave time for questions at the end. And then obviously I'll be available for calls later to see if I can be a good fit, just help you integrate this process. Okay. So we're going to get started in a meaningful way. We're going to dig into the OKRs, and I'm going to share with you share you the system. And again, take room for questions. So okay, so OKRs, if you're not familiar, OKRs, which stands for Objective and Key Results, is a management system that's used by many big companies. They use it, and you'll see, because of the effectiveness and the efficiency of it. So what is OKRs exactly? Okay, so it's a goal-setting method that we use by teams to set ambitious goals with measurable results. And what's unique about OKRs is that we're constantly tracking progress. And we'll talk a little bit about also like, why is this different specifically maybe than KPIs. But if you just think about it, when you talk about KPIs, that's more of a system when we track back and say, were we successful? What OKRs does is, on the way, as we're going, is checking in with our staff and saying, are we on the way? Are you putting in the right efforts? Are we on target to hit those goals? We're not looking back and saying, did we hit them? We're using it as a way to manage staff and encouraging them to reach goals. So what does OKR stand for? Okay, so we have the O is the objective and the KR are the key results. So the objective is what you want to accomplish. Okay, like we're going to talk about this more, but what's your goal? And your key results are how you're going to accomplish it. It's the efforts that you need to put in order to get there. So when we talk about OKRs, I'm going to be referring to the O's, the objective, and the KR, the key results, those key efforts that you need to put in to reach your goal. The O, your objective that you pick, we usually reevaluate that annually. Once a year, like, what are we doing this year? What are we going to get done? As opposed to the KR, the key results, those really could change quarterly. It could be right now we have to put in certain efforts, but as things change, we might change our KRs as well. So our efforts are going to change based on what's going on. And that's okay. But we don't want to be changing our objective, our goal all the time. That's not helpful. So I'm going to take a step back for a second and talk about vision. When we have our company, right? And we have a vision. What's the difference between a vision and an objective? So the vision, like, I'll give you an example, but like Elon Musk, when he talks about putting a man on the moon, okay, is he going to put a man on the moon? I have no idea. Probably not. Okay. But it doesn't matter. Your vision is like your big picture dream. It's not something like you're actually going to reach. You might, it's like that, hopefully it's like this hopeful thing. It's like this, like, what is driving you? Like, what is the thing that's causing you to do what you do? Like, what is Again, what is that thing that's motivating you to get the job done? So an example of a vision might be, we're going to change the world by providing medical services to families. We're going to help every orphan in New York. We're going to be the biggest agency out there. Like, are you going to help every orphan? Probably not. Probably not. And are you going to be the biggest agency? Probably not. But it doesn't matter, because it's like, what is the reason that you're here? What makes you different? Why are you here? What are you trying to accomplish? And that is your vision. When we talk about your objective, and this is super important, this is not just another goal. Okay, people think like, oh, it's like New Year's, and we're going to write down a list of goals and we're going to check them off. When we talk about objective, we are talking about your O is your overarching goal. It's like the number one thing that you want to accomplish. It's the most important thing that you're leaning towards, and it's going to impact every single decision that you make. So if a person's goal is, some people have personal goals, like I want to lose 30 pounds or whatever it is. If it's something you just do on the side, like one of your list of 10 goals, you're probably not going to reach that goal. But if it's something like you really focus on, right? You're going to shop for it, you're going to cook for it, you're going to exercise, you're going to change your habits, then you can reach that goal. But unless it's becoming like a super focus, like a real objective, like this is what we're doing right now, exactly specifically, it won't happen. So your objective is going to be the goal that you are living and dying by. It's like you're passionate about. You're really going to make it happen. It's not just a nice thing. It's a goal with a capital G. And it's what you're actually going to accomplish. It's going to be measurable. We talk about SMART goals, right? We're not going to say we're going to help every orphan in New York, but maybe we're going to place 100 orphans in homes this year. It's not a dream like we're going to help every single orphan in the world. It's a goal that we're going to actualize. It's very specific, but again, it's more than just, okay, this is what we're doing, because all of our decisions that we make around and during this year is going to be guiding whether or not we're going to hit our O. So let me give you examples. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat, or I'm happy to stop, just call it out. Okay. So I'm just going to keep going. There's a lot to cover, but again, if you have any questions, please feel free. So if you want to put 10 orphans, in homes, then you're not going to spend your time making social events for them, because that's not going to help you reach your goal. I want you to understand this. A lot of us get busy and we forget the reason why we do things. If your organization helped orphans without saying what exactly how you help them, we help orphans. So you might run a social event for them. You might send them gifts. You might put them in send them an activity. You might put them in homes. You might do a lot of things. And at the end of the year, you probably will score somewhere between 10 and 25%, grading 10, 25, grade 25 on all those activities, because you did a lot of different things, but probably not well. But if you decide that your objective this year is going to put 10 orphans or 100 orphans in a home, you don't need to make social events anymore, because your employees should be spending their time calling different people to see who could take them in. What choosing the O is doing is redirecting our activities to make sure that our staff are spending their time on the things that really, really work. If your goal is to have 100% retention of your staff, then you need to focus on their well-being and compensate them properly. You need to be spending a lot of time thinking about that. It's not just, oh, I want them to stay, so we had a staff retreat this year and I gave them extra gift cards. It's not something we're doing on the side or thinking about for a few minutes. It's literally something that's like driving everything that we do. If you want to run a school where your students have a relationship with the teachers, then you better be inviting the teachers and their families to events, even if it costs more money. If you're committed to something, you have to make it happen. If you're always to hire top-notch employees, then you need to focus on making that work environment amazing and the package top-notch. Again, your O is the goal that is your focus, and you don't get sidetracked. And that's why it's not just an item on a list of 10. In fact, when we have an O, we often only pick one objective for the year. We often only pick one objective for the year. Now, that doesn't mean you're not doing anything else. It doesn't mean if you're working on your staff package, all your clients are just falling down. But depending on the size of your company, you might be able to choose one, bigger, two, three, depending how, but that's it. You are not also retaining staff, recruiting staff, getting new staff, getting packages, working on this, helping orphans, making social events for them, placing them in homes. It's too much. And we end up doing a lot of things not well. So we spend a lot of time choosing this O because there's a lot of conflict, a lot of stakeholders have different opinions on what should be our main focus for the year. And I probably you won't guess, but on average, it takes almost probably 6 weeks to choose no, which sounds crazy. Like it's just a goal. What's the difference? Well, there is a difference because if you decide we're placing orphans in homes and some of the people on your board love the annual carnival, we're going to have a problem now because they want social events. Now you might say, okay, our objective is to get them placed in homes. So the focus of this carnival is going to be get them placed in homes. If you could do that, that's great. But every single thing that you do needs to be run through these lenses because otherwise we're going to be doing a lot of things. Now, why is this so important? It's important for your company, obviously, because employees need a goal that they're working towards, but this is where this is going to relate to this topic. It's super important for your employees' clarity. You can't have expectation or standards for real improvement unless you know where you're heading. Otherwise, everything is a success and you're selling for mediocrity. If your goal is just to help orphans and you're not even sure how you're going to do that, whatever your employees do is just great job. Oh, I spoke to people who used to be orphans and we're making a movie about them. That sounds great. Maybe that will help us. There's no goal and we don't know where we're heading, you're really settling. And then people get very confused. I was working with a nonprofit and it's really hard to choose this objective because again, there's so many conflicting pieces. But when I met with them, I was like, I know that you don't want to focus in on a demographic. And I know you want to change the world and help every age person. I said, but you can't do that well. Do you want to work with youth? Yes, of course we want to work with youth. Okay, so why are you running classes for adults? No, but you don't understand because we do education also for adults because we've known them for so long. I said, okay, so you think you could do just youth and adults? Well, we also have to help seniors because there's homebound seniors in the community. I said, all these things need to be done. The question is if it has to be done by you. And it is really hard because what you're doing is you're forcing people to make tough decisions and they're uncomfortable because again, but I love that annual carnival for our orphans. It's really hard to do. Choosing a niche is hard, but the results are unbelievable. And it's especially hard when you're used to doing every single thing for your client and you're running after every single client. If you don't have a niche, right? You're trying I do marketing for everyone. So you're just trying every single thing. Your ads aren't clear because we market and no one knows when to come to you, right? That's just like a marketing thing. But it's the same thing with your company. We need to know. So it's funny, like when I come in, I'm unbiased. So a lot of times I don't care if you want to niche down and focus only on New York versus New Jersey, or you want to do social events for orphans versus if you want to run, place them in homes. It doesn't matter to me. I'm able to come in and step in sometimes to help people make those hard decisions just because I'm unbiased. But when you're in it, it is really hard. This might be familiar with you. As anyone heard of the flavor of the month? You might work in companies, maybe show of hands or maybe type. I don't even see most of you, but if we could relate to this, but a lot of us have CEOs or board members that always on to the next new and shiny project. Hey, this might be relatable to a lot of you, right? Where it's like, okay, now we're doing this. And then it's really a big problem because staff cannot pivot that quickly. And we can't expect them to keep getting excited about new goals and new projects. And we want them to be pivot and be happy and be successful with this constantly changing goals. When they're constantly changing, it's like, we're drawing the target like around where the arrow lands. We're not accomplishing anything and it's not exciting. When you have OKRs, everybody gets on board. The CEO, the board members, people can't come in and say like, oh, we're going to change this. We're changing it up. And we're doing orphans, but we're also doing orphans and we're also doing widow, like it's just, we have to do them. What about their parents? And what about this? You don't have that. So we're going to stop with the flavor of the month. Okay. I'm going to get into the benefits of OKRs, obviously, besides for the ones that I spoke about, but they're going to relate very much to your employee challenges. So I want you to listen to the different pieces, and then you'll get a bigger sense of the benefits of the OKR system. So again, they're not KPIs, right? They're not measuring back on whether you're being successful. It's also not EOS. And, EOS is like a much bigger system with lots of pieces. This is just, OKRs, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. So the first benefit of OKRs is psychological safety. If you're not familiar with that term, it's one of my favorites, but it's the feeling that you're safe to speak up for good or for bad in a situation. And it's also the feeling that you get when you know that you're doing the right thing or not. And most or many employees do not know if they are doing the right thing. And they might be constantly doubting themselves. And you might be thinking, what do you mean they don't know if they're doing the right thing? Did they get clients? They might be putting in effort. And well, if your flavor of the month has changed, for sure they don't know if they're being successful. But the employees, it's not clear to them. They might be thinking, well, does my boss even like me? I mean, I took on all this extra work. I mean, I stayed late, but they didn't really say anything. And, he notices when I come late, but when I stay late, it doesn't seem like they really care. I work really hard. I don't get promoted, or I don't really get bonuses so much. Like, how come? I'm not really sure. Like, again, where do I fit in here? And maybe I'm a teacher and I try to help a lot of students, but some of them are failing. Like, does that make me a failure? Am I a bad teacher now? With OKRs, your staff knows exactly what they need to do to be successful. All they need to do are these KRs, these key efforts, these key results every single week. Okay, so let's say your objective is to fill 100 positions this year. Maybe you're a staffing agency and you want to just fill 100 positions. Okay, so your employees might have KRs. What they're going to look like is call 20 different companies to see if they have openings. They might interview 10 potential candidates. They might check in with 5 previously placed clients and see if they could give referrals. They might have weekly steps that they need to go and do. Now, here's the thing. Let's say they're supposed to call 20 candidates to see if they have companies, to see if they have openings. Okay. So you sit down with them and you say, okay, how'd it go this week? Did you make your 20 calls? And they say, 20 exactly. So if if they haven't called 20, they already know that they're not doing their job. Now, if they've done 10, 15, like, okay, we're going to get there 15, pretty good. We'll try to get for 20 next week. Great. What about if they're at 5 to 10? Now we have a problem. But you know what? Now we know exactly what we need to do to help them, because we know exactly where they're failing short. So we have an employee supposed to call 20 and they're calling 5 to 10. That's a problem. But think about it. When you do need to do it, if you do need to fire someone, there's no more uncomfortable conversations, because for the last 5 weeks, they've called 5 people instead of 20. And every week you check in and they're like, yeah, I didn't do it. Do you think by the 3rd week or the 4th week or the 5th week, they're going to even say, no, I really should still be here, or this job is for me? They're just not able to put in those efforts. Maybe they're shy. Maybe they are uncomfortable with sales. Now, you might say, okay, great, we're going to get you training. You get a coach, you get this. They're still not doing it. After a while, it's just like, we've been meeting for X amount of weeks, months now, and our goal is for you to call 20 people, and you have been able to get 5. Like, what do you think's stopping you? And at that point, they're probably already, unless they're completely not self-aware, they understand this isn't working. It's not shocking. When I said to an employee, and I said, wow, did you make your calls? And they said, well, I sent out cards the first week. Oh, that's so interesting. I'm glad you did that. But we really need to make calls. And now it's the 2nd week. Oh, you didn't make the calls again. Okay, we really, part of our job is we need the calls to happen, right? But how many greeting cards are we sending out before like, I don't need you to send out any more greeting cards. No, no more. It's not your job. It's not what I need. So when you have these conversations and it's so safe and healthy because they know, and it's not like you're coming from the field, like, what? I can't believe this. I didn't. What do you mean you didn't know? We discuss this like every single week for the last whatever. So, okay. So that's one thing. It's psychologically safe. People really know if they're being successful or not. There's no shock. There's no, I didn't know I had to do this. Like, you know, exactly. And by the way, I'm not giving them 15 KRs. I'm not telling them to do 55 things. I'm giving them 3, 4, or maybe 5. And that's it. These are the things you're doing weekly. Everything else, extra. After you finish all this, you could do all the extra things. You could send out all the greeting cards you want. But when we're doing this, we're not sending out greeting cards because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. The second one is it's simple, you know, and I was saying this, you know, as regarding to other systems, this is really, I mean, done on the simplest level. Like we're using Google Sheets. It's simple. The people see it in front of them. There's numbers. It's color coded. It just changes colors. You put in your numbers and, oh, you were supposed to do 20. Okay, great. 20 is a green. Okay, yellow, 15, 12, maybe in the yellow. Oh, 5, you know, that's a red. And they just see a bright red color go up as they put in their numbers. It's just simple. Like it's not complicated. It doesn't take a long time to learn. You can just start this and just do it. There's a unified vision. It's exciting. Like we're all working towards something. Like we're going to place 100 people this year. We're going to get orphans and X amount of orphans in homes. Like this is exciting. We're all going to do this. Like even that vision, that untangible vision, like we're changing the world. Like people want to live here and it becomes possible and everybody knows how they contribute. These are your KRs. These are your KRs. Everyone knows exactly what they do and how they fit into the bigger picture. There's a laser-focused mission. It's so much easier to accomplish something when we're laser-focused. Remember, it's instead of getting a 25 out of 100 on 5 projects, we're going to get 100. And when I first actually was trained in the system, I was like, you know what, I'm going to bring this to my nonprofit. And at the time, we were doing a lot of recruitment for a certain program. And when we started, we had 140 students recruited for this program. And I said, we're going to try OKRs. Let's focus on this. Let's stop doing a million things. Let's just do this. And after that, we had over 400. And that was within the year because we just were laser focused. That's all you need. That extra focus is really what's going to get you to the next place. Accountability. Okay, so this might be shocking to some of you, but when we track our KRs, our efforts, we track them publicly. So not just is it that everyone is seeing everyone else is on their level, the whole organization, everyone's KRs are public. So how does this work, right? So we're showing, you know, let's say 5 people are supposed to make 20 calls. They're on a spreadsheet and there's, you know, one guy got 20, one got 5, a few people got 17, 12, whatever it is. So when we're having our weekly meeting and we're reviewing these numbers, so let's say, I don't know, Rachel, okay, got 20. So we're like, wow, Rachel, this is amazing. Like, how did you do it? Like, share from us. She's a bright spot, right? Like, what did you do? How can other people learn from you? And she shares her tips. And we might turn to, I don't know, David, okay, who got 5. And we're like, wow, okay, like where's an area they struggle and where could people help you? Maybe you could pair up with Rachel and you guys could discuss how to get to 20. Like maybe she has some tips that are not working for you. Like, what do you need? And people use this as a way to support each other. But again, it's not just that these 5 employees, it's not just that their KRs are public. What's public is everyone's. They know what the CEO is supposed to be putting in, what their efforts are supposed to be, whatever on every different level. And everybody sees again how each person is contributing to the bigger picture of the company. It's not done as shaming. It's like done in a way this is exciting. Like, wow, like look how many, and then as it goes, like, okay, this is the first week, we had a lot of reds. This has been really hard. And as we go, we see the team, you know, getting like just growing in this. And we do also will reward, will reward staff, not for results. We're going to reward them for their efforts. So we might say, wow, Rachel got a 20. She got 20 this week. She hit her goal. Amazing. Here's a little gift card, a coffee, whatever. It doesn't have to be a major thing, but we're going to reward efforts. We're not going to keep talking about every single week. So new, okay, we were supposed to have 100. Our end of the year is 100. We're at 20. We're pacing. It's not what the meetings are like. We might mention, oh, by the way, I just want to let everyone know we've hit 20, we've hit 40, we've hit 80. We will do that. But the discussions are not about results. The discussions are about efforts. It's just about, did you call your 20 people? Did you have 5 meetings? Again, it's not, did you close a deal? It's, did you put in the right effort? It is so healthy and it is so safe. But that weekly accountability is what makes it so strong. And again, when there's a problem with an employee, you catch it right away, because it's not a month going by and you're like, wait, why haven't you closed any clients? It's like, you're not putting in the right effort. This is week 1, and now it's week 2, and it's week 3. Of course, you're not going to close clients. If you're not putting in the right effort, how would you close clients? So there's that whole piece. Okay. And then the last one is, again, and we spoke about measuring efforts rather than results. These are the 6 strongest reasons why OKRs is really the best method for your company. Simple, it's safe, and it's so quick that you pick up on people that are slagging off in such a fast way. So I'm going to share with you, this is a concept that I talk a lot about when I'm working with people, and it's called stories about, you could say Sarah or Sarah, however you pronounce it, but I use this concept a lot and I love talking about it. So what do I mean when I talk about stories about Sarah? Okay. So basically like this, how many times have this happened? And I'm sure you're going to find this familiar. You are running an event, or, maybe it's a conference, or maybe, and you ask, maybe you weren't so focused on the goals before. Maybe you're just doing your annual carnival because this is what we always do. And you come in, and what happens is, like, people after, like, they have the event, and then afterwards everyone sits down and you're like, okay, so let's like recap. We'll do a recap meeting, and you go through the things and you go, was this successful? Now, how do you measure success? So what people do is, if they don't have goals set up, they measure success by telling anecdotes. And they'll say, was the carnival successful? We just spent $100,000 on the carnival for orphans. Was it successful? So what do people say? Yes, I have to tell you what happened. Did you see in the corner of the room, Sam was there with his family? Did you see the look on their faces? And the mother even came over to me and said they had not seen whatever. I don't know if there's a mother, there's an orphan, whatever, but I had not seen Sam smile like this in months. This whole carnival was worth it for Sam. This whole conference was worth it because you don't know this discussion that happened in one of those rooms. That brainstorming session was just so great. The whole thing was worth it. What OKRs does, what it does is it helps us move away from these random stories that makes us feel good. You see, if we went into the conference, or if we went into the carnival with real goals, our goal for this carnival is to get 10 orphans placed in homes. That's going to change who we invite to the carnival. If we only have orphans, no one's going to place them in homes. Now we're going to be inviting potential hosts to this carnival. Maybe the speaker is going to be an orphan who is now in a home and is going to talk about the impact that it made on their lives. And a current host of an orphan is going to, or someone who adopt them, whatever, is going to speak about what that experience was like and how rewarding it was and how it changed their family dynamic. You might still have a story about Sam being happy in the corner, but you also might have 10 orphans placed in homes. If the point of your conference was staff morale, I don't know what it was, whatever you decide, but if there's no goal, you're literally selling yourself short. You have a weekend retreat and you bring in a speaker, and the goal is to bring the community or your office or whatever it is together. It's great, but there's so much more you could accomplish if you don't sell yourself short. And what OKRs does is it moves us away from these random stories or telling me how impactful the greeting cards were. I don't need you to tell me that. Yes, those are the stories that sell to donors, and those are the stories we tell, but that's not real life, and it's selling ourselves short. We can't get stuck in these stories. So what I do a lot of times is I come in, I'm creating a safe space for employees to come forward, because a lot of times, once they see their lack of progress, once it's done properly, when you ask them to reflect, they're going to probably start talking about how they see that this isn't working. You've met so many times, and then they're just like, I see that this is a problem. You don't have to even probably tell them it's over. They've seen that they're not capable of putting in these proper efforts, and then they take a step back. So obviously, a lot of times, like I'm helping companies with this, I'm coming in, I'm kind of creating that safe space, because a lot of times you could do it. I actually was interesting. I came in and I ran a workshop for an organization, and I knew that there were underlying problems. So what I did was very interesting. Like I had people share anonymously their feedback about what was the challenges they faced in the office. And I read out the comments out loud. And no one knew who said it, so it was very safe, but it was the higher ups were in the room and they were listening to this. A lot of them were shocked. And some of them were upset. And I was like, upset, this is amazing. Like, where are you getting honest feedback like this that now that you could do something about? It's not always easy to create the safe space. But when you have a system where there's constant check-in, constant measuring, by the end, they realize that this isn't going well. But the only reason why this worked is because your goals were clear and you measured the efforts and not the results. And I'm going to keep steering you away from talking about, but we didn't reach our numbers. I know, but we've outlined the best ways to do that. We've outlined the best efforts. And if we're going to focus on the results, we're not going to get to the place that we want. So how does it work? Like, how does it, when I come in, what does it look like when I help companies? So sometimes there's an employee that needs to be dealt with and they're not performing, and they need a system in place to help them stay or leave. Like, we need to work this out. Like, you need to be making your phone calls. How can I help you? Right? Like that. Just almost like coaching them through this thing to see if we can get them to the other side of being able to put in the right efforts. Sometimes they need people to work with them, someone to work with them one-on-one, even like executive functioning issues, like, presentation clarity. They have a lot of things that they're not able to stay on task, and they're not helping the company get to their goal. So I almost become like their partner and their boss at the same time. So it's like, I'm the dentist they need, but like, they'd rather not know. So I'm like, I come in, but I'm nice, so they don't mind working with me. But like, a lot of times you have like that dichotomy of like, we gotta work on this. Like, you're not gonna make it here. Like, do you want to grow in this? So let's do this together. But most often than not, it's not really that. Most often there's organizations that are trying to set up a proactive, healthy space where everybody can thrive. Like, I come in, I help you get crystal clear on your objective for the year. I help you set the KRs for your staff for a few weeks. And as you check in with them, then I review. And then once you're in a good place, I take a step back and I leave. I help you get to the place where you need to be. And then I'm done. Sometimes there are companies that are already super clear on that. They know what they're trying to accomplish. They don't need me. But somewhere along the way, they got lazy and they dropped the ball. So their system it's just not working. And I come in, I help them pick up the pieces and get back on track. And sometimes the upper management has a feeling that employees aren't safe and there's grumblings. And that's when I come in to create that safe space. So we all have people in our companies and orgs that we find more challenging. But let's set them up for success by being clear on what success looked like. So I'm going to pause now. I'm going to stop. I'm going to take time for questions. And I really look forward to continuing the conversation with you. I'm going to, feel free to reach out to schedule a call and see how I'm the right fit to help you. But that is overall. I know some of you came in late and missed a lot of the beginning, which was like a ton of information. So you might be lost. Just feel free to like fill you in on gaps, or if you have any things, or we can meet after. But again, this system is just so healthy and safe. And I've seen it work time and time again. Like, if we're just hyper-focused, if we make a safe space for our employees, if they need to leave, they're going to know. And most often they're just going to be ready to take a step back because you've been helping them to grow along the way. And they know that you're here for their own good. You're not trying to get rid of them. You're trying to help them grow. And if it's not the right fit, let's get them into a position that it's the right fit for them. So feel free to put questions in the chat, raise your hand. I'm here, happy to help. And Jakob, I know you came in a little bit late. If there's any gaps I could fill for you, feel free to ask. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not going to go ask and start from the beginning, so I'm just
Okay. Okay, but there is a recording, and if you want to watch from the beginning, you'll watch the beginning because that was really obviously the bulk of information. But happy to also tell you on the phone or talk about it. Okay. What does trend followers mean? If you could elaborate on that. How long does it take to put these into place? Okay, great question. It really depends on the size of the organization, and whether or not their goals are crystal clear already. If they need help with really getting their objective in place, that process takes about an average of 6 weeks. Again, it's going to depend on the size of the company and how much, I don't know how much needs there are, but usually the process somewhere is between 3 and 6 months. And then again, as soon as you're ready, I just take a step back. Like, I'm not looking to stay. Someone asked me, oh, you're going to stay on and like I'm like, you're not hiring me. I'm not going to be your employee. I'm really here to get you to know where you want to go. Like, where you want to head to, and just help you get there. And then again, leave. You have me. If you ever need me, call me back. But like, I'm here and I'm just going to help you. Okay. So question, CEO doesn't like to choose or focus on any one objective. Always says we have many equally important goals. What's the next step? So this is a really great question. And this is classic. Okay. And it's not just CEO, it could be they're having pressure from a board, if possible. What we're going to be doing is the next step is if we could get the CEO into a meeting. Obviously that is the best thing, but they do need to see on some level that they're hitting a 25 in all 4 areas. Because right now, if they think that they're hitting, and if they are hitting 100% in 5 areas, then great, but they're probably not. It's probably impossible. So if they're hitting a 20, whatever, 15, 20, 25% in 4 areas, that's pretty, it's a pretty glaring number. I don't know if you're familiar with some of the Heath brothers books, but I love talking about this. An example in one of their books. I don't know if you're familiar with the glove incident. So there was somebody in the company who was so upset they were spending extra money, and he noticed that they were offering a lot of like disposable gloves. They were buying them, but since each part of the company didn't talk to each other, no one was like, they were just ordering separately and they weren't getting bulk discounts. And he found out that, right, like every single person, this one was spending $18 on a pair of like those Nyla's gloves that are like 22 cents. This one's spending $18. This one's spending $3.80. This one was spending $1.50. And he was like, he could have made a spreadsheet and a chart and just like put it up there and just said, okay, I just want to let everyone know this is crazy. We have all these numbers, and everyone would have been like, But instead he decided, right, it was the elephant in the whole discussion, but instead he spoke to their emotions. And you know what he did? He got everyone into the conference room. He piled the table high with gloves, exact gloves, identical, and like safety pinned onto each glove the amount that it cost. And as the CEO and different upper staff walked in the room and walked around the table, they picked up gloves and they were like, why does this glove say $17 and this says $3 when they're the exact same glove? And he was like, exactly. It's time for a change. So sometimes we have to do things like we brainstorm together, and we have to do things a little bit like that. Whereas like we have to, show them, they're like, yeah, no, it's fine. We're really not at 25%. So then we have to get testimonials. Sometimes we have to be a little more innovative and speak to the emotion of like, I know you think that we're doing well. Maybe we're getting staff feedback anonymously, and I'm working to gather that. But let's, this is a really, really important topic. And this is where OKRs help the most. It's a hard process, but if you could get your CEO, if we could get them to buy into this, everyone will be happier. Every single staff member will be happier, and everyone will be able to change. So happy. I don't even know who I'm talking with exactly with a B, but is that Bluma? I'm not sure who I'm talking to, but would love to speak after to really, see what we could do, because this is literally what OKRs is solving. It's just stop doing a million things. Let's just do a few things well. Anyone else? Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. I'm here. If anyone needs me, I'll stay on. Again, if I missed the beginning, I'll here for another 10 minutes. Happy to just schmooze and talk and help. Thank you for being here. Definitely appreciate it. And you can get in touch with me, meiraspivak.com, meiraspivak@gmail. Either way, happy to reach out through LinkedIn. I'm so glad that you were able to take the time to join us today.